Good morning, Tekla.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
So, it's been another week.
Yep.
How was this week for you?
Pretty nice. Like, I feel a lot less stressed, and I've been able to think a little bit clearer.
Clearer?
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from, that clarity?
I don't know. I guess, like, being able to talk out something, or, like, being just able to talk about my grandma and, like, my own feelings, because it's kind of like, with my mom, I'm not able to express maybe the things that are, like, harsh or, like, something that she doesn't want to hear. So, like, I don't have any protection in here. Like, I can speak freely and...
Right. Without her...
Yeah, like, worrying about other people's feelings. So I guess it, like, in just general life, it's made me think clearer or, like, feel lighter.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me because you and your mother speak often.
Oh, yeah.
As I understand, like, multiple times a day. Which I gotta say, like, isn't how much most people will speak to their mom.
Oh, yeah.
They're lucky if they get a call once a week.
Oh, gosh, no. We
Yeah.
talk all the time.
Yeah, so that's interesting for me to hear that you feel like maybe there's some things you can't say around here.
Yeah.
Considering you talk to her so often.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are stuff we don't tell each other. Like, a lot. That you would think she would have told me, but it's kind of like hush-hush protection. Like,
Still.
It's
even
weird.
when you're kind of a grown child now.
Yeah. She does that. I mean, if I'm at, like, a weak point, like, she'll, like, say things that are like, oh, wow, like, I didn't know you were through that. And I don't know. There's so much I don't know.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you would consider yourselves close, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah.
You speak often. So with being so close and having moved so far away, do you feel like the relationship has changed, or was it similar when you were at college as well, in your undergraduate?
Yeah. I think our relationship was the same. Like, I mean, now that I'm further away, like, it's a little bit different because it's like, oh, like, now you're gone, I need to talk to you more or something like that, versus, like, in my undergrad, I was, like, always busy all the time, so I couldn't call her. But when I was in high school, like, I moved out of the house and, like, lived in a camper, like...
You moved out in high school?
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Mm-hmm. My stepdad was, like, the biggest asshole in the world, and I was, like, being very defiant, and I was like, fine, if you're not gonna, like, choose your children over him, then I'm gonna move out. Brother moved out.
You both
I
did?
moved out. Yeah.
And how old were you?
It was my junior year, I think.
So
my senior year. Junior summer to, like, senior year.
So you weren't 18 yet?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Yeah, I lived in a camper outside my my boyfriend at the time, his parents' house, and they kind of, like, took me in for, like, the time being. Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
I did not expect that.
Yeah, we had a lot of strain.
And she's still married to that same man, right?
Mm-hmm. He's okay now. Like, he's gotten a lot better now that he kind of, like, we have accepted each other. But
took some time.
Oh yeah, like 7 years.
Wow. Yeah.
But, and it's funny because, like, she met him after my grandma died. My mom got a divorce, and then, like, before they even told us, like, she was out, like, she had this big party phase. She was out partying. And
Your mom had a party phase?
Oh, yeah.
After your grandma's death?
After my grandma died, and then, like, a couple months after that, they told my brother and I that they were getting a divorce. No. They told us before she died that they were getting a divorce.
Your stepdad?
No.
Your father?
My father.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was about...
Yeah,
let me see. So it was about September, like the start of swimming season, when my parents sat us down and told us they were getting a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that was already hard because my brother and I were, like, practicing and, like, so busy.
Right.
And then February, my grandma died. And then, like, that was, like, crumble.
Mm-hmm.
And January, my mom had, went out New Year's, and, like, I saw that my parents were, like, in a picture, and they were not standing next to each other, they were, like, with other people. But it was funny because, like, the people that they were with, like, they ended up dating, and I was like...
Both of them?
Yes!
Hmm.
And I was like... But they were flopped.
Right.
So, like, they were standing next to, like, the people.
But they had already told you that they were separating.
Yeah, but
and
it
then
wasn't...
seeing that picture, like...
Well, like, and they didn't even say, like, oh, like, yeah, we're just gonna do it. Like, they were
Right.
still living together for, like, a year after.
Oh, wow.
One lived downstairs, one lived upstairs.
So
So it was, like, a super awkward, like, thing.
maybe they were a little further along
Oh,
with
yeah.
the separation than what they were conveying to you
Oh,
guys.
definitely, because they...
Mhm.
I mean, they were married for 11 years or so, 11, 12, and, like, my mom in the first place, I remember her telling me that she didn't even want to marry him, and, like, she was in love with this other guy, and they were, like, engaged, and then she cut it off, and that was the end of it. And
Wow.
my dad was just kind of, like, the nice guy, but he, growing up, was, like, awful, like... He was addicted to, like, caffeine pills, and, like, he was an alcoholic. I didn't know at the time because I was young, but, like, he would always try to hide it. And, like, it just, he was awful. So I think my mom definitely didn't even want to be married to him. So, like, the icing on the cake was, and this was hard for me to process because, and, like, this is kind of, like, hidden, too, because she doesn't really tell me the truth.
Mhm.
But when I was angry with them for wanting to get a divorce, she's like, you know, he raped me. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't, that doesn't happen in marriage. And I didn't understand at the time what was going on. And she, like, would not say much about it. She just like, no, like, don't be mad at me. Like, it's not my fault. And all this stuff. And I think that's what kind of, like, caused our, like, separation at that time, and, like,
Maybe feeling like
me to move out, and
you
then
weren't being told the truth. Things
Yeah.
were being hidden from you.
oh yeah, all the time.
So if she's gonna hide,
yeah, and then
you're gonna hide too.
yeah, and then, like, that was
Yeah.
really hard because she didn't have my mom or my grandma.
Mhm.
Like, she didn't have her mom.
So she was losing you
Yeah,
and her marriage and her mom
yeah.
all in the
So, like, now
same year.
looking back, I'm like, oh gosh, that was really bad.
Yeah.
But
you guys found each other again.
oh yeah,
So.
definitely. But
It
we're still
worked
not as
out.
open because I don't really know as much
Mhm.
still. But I guess it's like a thing to, like, go further into to see
Mhm.
what actually happened.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I wonder how much of that was her trying to protect your relationship with your father and not trying to ruin him for you, or maybe that's
Yeah.
not something she cares
She tried not to ruin the relationship I wanted with my father because she let him do it all himself.
about. Oh.
And he did a very good job
Oh,
of
no.
ruining it
Uh-huh.
himself. I mean, he is just, like, awful. He told my brother the other day he needs to change his last name. And I was like, what is wrong with you?
Change his last name to not be your father's last name?
Yeah. He told my brother that the other day.
So is it McCabe? The
Yeah.
one- So you still have the last
I
name
still
too?
have it because it's just, like, I've never had enough funds to ever, like, change it really fast. And
Mhm.
I wanted my undergrad certificate, like, my degree to say, like, my mom's maiden, but I
Mhm.
could never get it done fast enough. So I just kind of, like, gave up
Mhm.
because they weren't going to put the other name on my diploma until I legally did it.
Mhm.
But I was never in Indiana long enough to get all the paperwork done, and, like,
Mhm.
it was a giant mess. So hopefully, I guess, by the time
You're done with this
I,
degree.
yeah, I would like to have it different.
Yeah. So what would your last name be then?
Mannering, which is my mom's maiden name and my grandpa's last name.
Grandpa Harrison Eugene.
Mannering. How great.
That's a
Or
wonderful
my
name.
grandma's maiden name is Burby.
Mhm.
I thought of that because I was like, oh, that's cute. They used to call her Booby Burby. Because she had huge
Oh
boobs.
no! Did she like that nickname?
She just thought it was funny. My grandma was a wild person.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she was. The stories.
That's
I was like,
interesting.
she was like wild. She did her own tattoo.
Her own tattoo.
Her own tattoo with
Oh.
her ex-husband's name in it too.
Oh no.
His name was Gino, and I thought it was really funny that her husband, like now, my grandpa, his name is Gene.
Oh.
So she always like would laugh and just like put Sharpie and put Gene on it, and I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
it was funny. She was a go-go dancer.
Mhm.
She did like the cage dancing, and
Oh my god.
she was like a bartender for a
Uh-huh.
big chunk of her life. I think the husband she had before my grandpa, he was awful. I think she was beaten, but like
Mm.
they were both in like a motorcycle gang, and like I remember the story that my grandma would tell because she just like thought it was so funny. But she caught her ex-husband cheating on her with this girl, and she like walked into the house,
Oh my goodness.
and she said she had like grabbed this girl by the back of the head, and just like was slamming her face in the ground, and like every time
Oh my.
that my like her ex-husband hit her, she would like slam this girl's face on the ground, and like very abusive relationship.
Wow.
But my grandma was so proud. She was like, that was a highlight. And then she left him. I was like, what?
Like right after that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, go
She
grandma.
really stood her ground, huh? So, I love hearing these other dimensions of Grandma Sharon.
Oh.
So, I'm curious then, like if you were to introduce me to her, like, how would you describe her?
As like how she was at like when I knew her.
Yeah, or even just how she was through the time, you know? It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be in one specific instance of time. It can be, introduce me to her in her everything that you knew her as.
Yeah. I would say she's like really resilient and like one of the most like open arm persons you would ever like meet, because like I mean she had been through like a lot as a child. Like her parents died when she was young, and she like went to her aunt and uncles and lived with her cousins in LaPorte, Indiana. It's kind of like by Gary, like right next to Gary.
Mhm.
And I think she had a pretty rough life because, you know, she was with like 5 kids in a home, and 2 people were like trying to support them.
Mhm.
And then like the relationships that she had, I don't know if she had 2 ex-husbands, or I think it was the abusive ex-husband I told you about.
Mhm.
But they actually had 2 children together, young.
Oh.
I think they were babies when they were getting a divorce, and at the time they were like scheduling court and stuff like that, and she arranged for the ex-husband to come pick her up to take her so that they can go to like the child hearing and like the court and see who was going to get the kids.
Mhm.
Well, he never picked her up, and she lost the 2. I think they were twins. Yeah, they were twins.
Because she didn't make it.
Because he never picked her up.
And that might have been on purpose then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So she had these 2 girls that she didn't get to like be with,
Mhm.
and then I know that she knew their names. I don't know them, but she didn't really go into much detail and talk about it all the time.
That might have been a very painful part of her life.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
I know that she one time figured out where they lived and where they worked, and she went to the store that they worked at.
Mhm.
And she went through the grocery line, and like they were bagging and doing the checkout, and she like looked at this girl, and she's like, you know, I'm your mom. That's how she like told her.
Oh
and
my goodness.
it didn't work. She's like, no, you're not. Like, yeah, totally
Wow.
went downhill, and then my grandma just left. And they never knew that was their mom, but like she knew the whole time. And then when that was settled, she met my grandpa at Strachan Vintel. It was like steel can factory. It was like one of the only factories near Gary, and they both worked there. And when they met, my grandpa already had 2 kids. Awful children. And
What made them so awful?
Like, I mean, my aunt, she's already dead. She was an alcoholic and like just like into like a lot of substances, and like her two children that she had. One had fetal alcohol syndrome, and like I've never met my uncle David, my grandpa's son. He was like rough child. I think he's been in and out of jail. Like his daughter, like my uncle's daughter, doesn't even talk to him, and like it's kind of like the same situation with my dad, but he's not. I've never ever talked to him. I don't even know what he looks like.
Wow.
Yeah, and then she married him. They had my mom, and my mom was like the golden child, and I think that kind of changed my grandma's life when she had my mom. And then from then on out, she was like, she supported my mom like with everything. She was a great swimmer like I was, and didn't do it in college. And after my mom had children, like it was just love and support from then on. And like my grandma was completely changed. Like she's the grandma you go to her house and she'd have like candy and like food for you and like all this stuff ready. It was interesting. But I would say like she's a resilient and like one of the most caring people you would ever meet.
She has so much history.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing. That was all new. I didn't know any of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's so much more dynamic now to see all those different kind of like eras of her life. So how old was she then when she died of the heart attack?
I think she was 65 or so. I don't know how many, it's been since 2013. 5 years ago. And then my grandpa, he just turned 81, so she would have been 60. She would have been 64.
64.
They were like 10 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's still going.
He's still going. Grandpa Harrison Eugene. Yeah.
He's still chucking.
So then, it sounds like Grandma Sharon was a very like can-do, get it done, I don't need help, I got this
Yeah.
type of person. So
yeah.
I'm wondering then, in her absence now, how does the family operate differently without her?
I would say very well, to a surprise. You know, she kept the family together and kept like the traditions alive, but I think my mom and I took that over, especially with like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like we do everything that she did. The only thing we don't do is we used to go vacation in northern Wisconsin every year. It was called Yellow Lake. And my grandpa like won't go back there.
To Yellow Lake.
Yeah, he won't. My mom won't, because she grew up going there. It's been in the family for years. I've been back there once with my dad, and then it was completely different. And no, twice. I've been there twice. One was with my mom and dad, and then the other one was with just my dad, and it was completely different. So we quit doing that. But
Is it something that you miss?
Yeah, because like the people there that owned the resort, and like we were like great friends with them, like amazing friends. And I think after she died, it kind of like just like cut that end. but it's probably really painful for them. I didn't have as much, like, history as, like, my mom going there when she was a young kid, like 3 to like 30. It's a lot of years. And then my grandpa, they always went before they even had kids.
Wow.
So it's like
A long time then.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
one thing we
Because
don't do.
how old is your mom then?
She's 41.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So she's still pretty young, because you're really young to be in grad school.
Yeah.
And then did she have you when she was young as well?
Yeah, she had me when she was like 23, I think.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I think my grandpa's kind of taken on the role as being the grandparent, I guess. But I'm glad that he was able to have that role.
Yeah.
So I don't think he would be alive if he wasn't in that role, to be honest.
Right. And you,
Yeah.
you had told me last week as well that it was more that Grandma Sharon was the active grandparent, and then when she
Mhm.
passed, he's developed a new relationship with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Even with my mom. I think my relationship with my grandpa is a lot more than hers is.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is, but I think I just like attached.
Yeah. The relationship's just different. in its
Yeah.
own way. Yeah. So, we're about to wrap up our time here soon. That went by really fast, you telling me all these amazing stories about Grandma Sharon. But I have a project I'm curious if you'd be open to working on. So, have you ever heard of a memory box before?
I have.
You have?
Slightly.
Slightly. So, I'll describe it and then you could tell me if you're up to the challenge of doing one. So you find a box, just like a petite, like a shoe box or even something smaller, and you decorate the outside and fill the inside. And it's supposed to represent this person that you lost. And it could be every dimension of them. It could be their relationship to you. It can be things they did in their life, memories you have with them. And the point of it is every piece that you add holds a meaning for you, right? So if you're going to wrap it all in Christmas gift wrap, maybe that's because there is some memory associated with holidays with her. Or if you're going to wrap it in a grocery store bag because you guys used to go grocery shopping together or something, that it's an opportunity for you to kind of rekindle these memories that you have. And as well on the inside, filling it can be sometimes more challenging than we think.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we place a great importance on it, like what's good enough to go in here? How do I represent her in the best light? Or even putting things in that maybe didn't have positive associations. If there was something that you would fight about, you can put that in there. It's just putting your relationship with her kind of in a physical form. And then next week you can bring it in and we can talk about how you decorated it, what you put in it, and if you're open to the challenge, making a memory box is a really good opportunity to involve other close family and people that knew her and get their input on what maybe you could put in it. But obviously you don't have to use their advice because it's your memory box,
Yeah.
right? But maybe that could spark some interesting conversations between you and your mom about maybe memories you didn't know about Grandma Sharon, maybe from when you were littler that you can't remember as well.
Yeah.
So she probably has plenty of those.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Would you be open to maybe spending 2 hours or so making a box
Yeah, I
throughout
think
this
so.
next week, and then you can show me?
Yeah, I would definitely like to do that. I think it would place like a really big importance in like all the things that she liked to do.
Yeah, and don't worry too much about the form, right? If you end up filling a basket, I'm not going to hold it against you.
Okay.
Or, letting your artistic juices take you in whatever direction you want.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. So, thank you for sharing with me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot I didn't know about your relationship with your father your grandma's relationships. Both grandparents had different marriages.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then as well, revealing to me that despite the closeness with Mom, there's some stuff there that goes unsaid.
Mhm.
So that might leave room to talk about that later too.
Mhm.
So don't forget the memory box or basket
Okay.
or whatever it's going to become, and I will see you in 1 week's time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.